So this video is a tag from Claire, Dr. Claire Smith. Dr. Claire Smith's Perfumes, is it? One day I will get exactly right what that channel's called. There'll be a link somewhere, but that day is not today, is it? And basically, mine's a kind of twist on Claire's. It's like a favourite fragrance from one of your favourite houses, and a kind of want, you know, a wish list kind of one from them as well. My favourite houses, we're defining that as a house you have 3 or more fragrances from, to just kind of narrow it down or whatever, you know, it makes it all work. So that's the kind of premise. So yeah, so it's your favourite fragrance from the collection, and the one that you wish was in your collection. Yeah, that's pretty clear, isn't it? Alright, no waffle. Now, are they in alphabetical order? I suppose, sort of, as long as I can do the alphabet. Probably not. But obviously, first up is Amouage. Now, I have quite a few bottles from them, and you know, I've sampled a lot, as we know. And I'm not going to give you this with all of them, but Amouage is kind of an Omani house, and it does niche fragrances that used to be quite wow, quite out there, quite different, very unique, very sort of representative of the area and that. And over the year they've become more friendly. Anyway, we know what Amouage is. So I picked as my favourite, it'll come as no surprise, Portrayal. Now Portrayal is the big massive jasmine bomb. It's just beautiful jasmine, cigarette smoke, a few resins, a little hint of incense, some tuberose. It's that very vintage 1920s kind of style of long cigarettes, little feathers in your hair, little cocktail dresses, whatever kind of, you know, does it for you. And it's just, as far as sweeter jasmine fragrances go, this is by far and away, I think, the best I've ever smelt. It's magnificent. It's just so classy, and it so does take you to that kind of era. There is a little bit of naughtiness in there, not just the cigarette smoke and that. So that's Portrayal as my favourite. Now the one I want most, that's highest up on my wish list from Amouage, is Opus. Oh dear God, I never remember these. 13 Silver Oud. You'll see whether I'm right or not. But Silver Oud is just this utterly spectacular kind of more Middle Eastern style oud fragrance. It's one I've obviously spoken about quite a bit as well, because I'm adorned with it. It's just fantastic. It opens up a little bit, you know, a little bit rugged, a little bit animalic, and then it kind of grows with this the kind of noble, elegant, classy, sophisticated oud in the background. It's kind of morphed into that, and then you've got like sweeter notes and it's floral notes. So is the rose in this? There might be a very muted rose, but it's not an oud like a big oud rose one, and it's kind of enveloped in all this kind of silvery feel, and it suits the name, whether that's another kind of form of oud or some of the florals or the musks. It's kind of this just beautifully elegant, classy, well put together kind of fragrance with that bit of a silver hue, hence its name. So that's my favourite from Amouage, and my wishlist one from Amouage, which are Portrayal and Opus Silver Oud. Next is April Aromatics. I told you I'd get the alphabet wrong. I didn't realise I'd fall at the first hurdle. But yeah, but my favourite from them, and again, this is a masterpiece fragrance, isn't it? It's one I have spoken about endlessly, and with good reason, I think, because Lotus Rising, it's obviously it's primarily a Lotus fragrance, maybe a little bit of water lily and stuff in there, but it's that scene by like a river in China or some other Far Eastern country, you know, all green with all these beautiful sweet flowers around it, the muddy river with lotus flowers in there, and water lilies, and beautiful exotic birds flying all over. Maybe a panda sat on a log chomping on some bamboo, looking all depressed. And it's just this still, like a frozen moment in time, where you just smell all these things. And I understand the kind of relationship of lotuses and that kind of sacred it's relationship with India as well, isn't it? A kind of sacred flower of serenity and peace. And this fragrance has all that there. It has the earthiness, it has the greenness, it has the sweet floral touch, it has just all the elements you'd want to recreate a moment, a time and space with a lotus. So that's Lotus Rising. My wish list one from Aromatics. It's actually a weird one for me, and I've said this, it's one I've mentioned a few times. I think it's Wild Summer Crush, which is primarily like a pink grapefruit scent. Now there's more than that going on, but it opens with this just pink, juicy, beautiful or red grapefruit, which has got all the citruses in there, but it's not candied. It's still got the sharpness and that, but it's got that natural sweetness of it, and it's so vibrant like a grapefruit is. It's not bitter and acky like a normal grapefruit can be. It's got that little bit of extra effervescence and sumptuousness about it, and it's just a magnificent fragrance. It has more going on. Like I say, there's obviously musks and woods and what have you going on in there, and it dries down a little bit warmer, but that kind of beautiful sweet red pink grapefruit always kind of runs through it, and it's like being splashed in the face with something refreshing on a hot day. It's not cologne like, don't get me wrong there, but it's just so vibrant, so summery, so refreshing. It's great. So that's Wild Summer Crush as my want, and as my favourite was Lotus Rising from Aromatics. So next is one I've got, quite surprises me how many I've got from them, but Chanel. And what I've gone for my favourite from Chanel is of course Misia. Now Misia is just this kind of, again, more vintage smelling purple fragrance. It's EDP that I've got, so this is kind of a big pink purple powder bomb. It's got the nice soft pinkness from the rose. Obviously the violets and what have you give it that beautiful violety thing, and the iris kind of running through it. It just adds a little bit of the powderiness, a little bit of almost freshness in there. It's not overly dense, don't get me wrong, it's not particularly, you know, light and airy fairy, but it's a little bit it's got a presence. And obviously there's the musks and that. Now, like all Chanels, it's got, you know, it's a Chanel, they have a certain DNA about them, don't they? A certain kind of specific thing. And this one, I've tried quite a few from the Les Exclusives line, and this one kind of sticks out because obviously I love that violet iris kind of DNA, more so the violet, don't I? And this sticks out as, you know, Chanel do classy fragrances, and they definitely are, and only they do fragrances quite the same as them, and yeah, I really quite like it. So that's me waffling on. That's Misia from Chanel. We all know what it smells like anyway. And then my want is Lilion. Again, another one of the Les Exclusives. And Lilion, best way of describing it is it's kind of like a beautiful, it opens quite rugged, quite leathery. The leather maybe even is a little bit green in the opening, with all the usual Chanel stuff. But that's kind of what sticks out the most. And then it warms up quite a lot. You get vanilla benzoin coming through, and I think people often describe it as like a little bit of could have been a flanker to Coromandel. I agree, I do agree actually. It's not as rich or smooth as that one, and that one goes quite, that could be a white fragrance to me, almost Coromandel. This still has that golden hue in it, and the leather does keep lingering on through it, but it has that kind of soft, sweet patchouli air around it. Not white chocolate like people say Coromandel is, but a comforting kind of patchouli, benzoin, kind of nearly creamy richness, vanilla-y, you know, like a very cozy leather jacket that someone's been wearing whilst making cakes or something like that. It's not cakey, it just has that kind of, that style about it, and it's very lovely. So from Chanel, my favourite that I have is Misia, and my want is Lilion. Next, it's even next to it in the alphabet, but it's a kind of the opposite Chanel, isn't it? Dior. My favourite from Dior, it changes off and on, off and on. I don't mean to always pick the posh ones from each of them, but this just so happens to have fallen like this. But Oud Rosewood, again from the Privé line or whatever it's called, and that is one I have spoken about endlessly. It's similar, actually, not the same, but it has a similar kind of thing that Lilion does. Oud Rosewood is like this leathery fragrance. Maybe there's a bit of a kind of leathery oud accord in there, but actually it's more about the smooth, rich leather and the raspberry. And with that smooth, rich leather, sometimes you get a little bit tweak of something a little bit animalic. It's not quite, you know, it's not moving into your civic Castorian territory, but it does have this little bit of an animal kind of thing about it. A clean animal, a freshly bathed animal with the smooth leather. You know, you're riding a unicorn that's just come out of the shower, and you're wearing a leather jacket, leather saddle. You know, you're both eating raspberries and enjoying it. I think there might be quince in this fragrance as well. Now, I've said this before, quince to me, I know what it tastes like in alcohol, and I know what it tastes like in posh sauces you get in a restaurant, but I've never actually seen one in real life, and it's quite easy to mistake that for other savoury goods such as, I don't know, quiche, whatever. Anyway, ignore me with that. But yeah, it's got that little bit of a fruity edge with the raspberry, let's just say. And it's a magnificent fragrance, and I've spoken about it for far too long. That's Oud Rosewood is my favourite. My want from Dior. This is so tricky because there's so many that I like. But for today, this point in time, we're going for Eau Noire, which is a green, anisey. Has it got tarragon in it? I'm just going to describe it as I smell it rather than go through the notes. Yeah, it's kind of this dark green, like almost the bottom of a grass when you chew on it, and it's that dark green bit, and you get some of this kind of little bit bitter but sweet greenness from the stem of a grass. And it's also the anise, and maybe there's licorice in it, and that add to that, and it gives you this kind of great outdoorsiness. Now I've noticed maybe there's something about this that reminds me of my youth with licorice, and I get a little bit of a nettle thing. Now nettles, do they smell anisey? Probably not. I'm trying to find a bit of fresh grass here, but yeah, it's green, and it's got a lovely musk through it, and it's just quite sensational. It's dark but not too dark, and it's got the fresh, it's like dark dense grass with licorice and stuff growing around it. Anyway, this is what I'm on about. You see that bit there, and you see I've chewed it? You know what I mean. You get that kind of dense greenness, and that's what Eau Noire reminds me of. Anyway, it's been too long. That's my favourite for the time, this moment in time, is Oud Rosewood, and my want is Eau Noire. Next, with this kind of predictable list, but it just so happens I have a few from them, is Guerlain. And well, it's a tricky one to pick a favourite again, isn't it? And a lot of Guerlains, they kind of have endless lines where the the flankers are kind of probably more famous than the originals in the end, and this one's a flanker. That's Le Petit Robe Noir Black Perfecto, and the Black Perfecto one is the dark one. It's cherry, violet musk. It's a little smooth little bit of leather running through it. It's kind of got this dark cherry sensuality, and the leather, I believe, is not in the original. I don't know if I've ever smelt the original, and it's just this kind of magic, sumptuous red and black, you know, like a beautiful red and black kind of goth outfit, you know, all shiny, smooth black boots, black leather, and then little strips of red in the hair and what have you. It's that, and it's not particularly dark, it's not intense, it's not crazy kind of out there. It's a more playful kind of version of that, but it's just very nice. I've got no more to say. We know what Black Perfecto is. And the one that I want from Guerlain, oh, so many. Predictable French Kiss, discontinued, probably against the rules have been in this video, but it is your kind of iris, rose, violet one. Although to me French Kiss is perhaps a little more concentrated on the rose, kind of pink powdery rose, and it's like it suggests it is. It's like this pink kiss. It's a little bit more fruity than perhaps other similar ones that we get from here and there, but again, it's not an overly vibrant juicy fruity. It's just the fruits kind of make it calm and simmer down. It's a kiss from a lass wearing pink and purple lipstick on a hot day, lying in a summer meadow. There's all these soft flowers and the musks and what have you in the air, and it's beautiful. So yeah, that's French Kiss from Guerlain. Not going to waffle on, but again, most of us know what I smell like. So French Kiss is the want, and Le Petit Robe Noir Black Perfecto is the favourite. And of course, in my misplace all over the shop alphabet, next is Frédéric Malle. And God, this is a hard one. This is a house I love. I do have quite a few from them, but I know I want a lot more, and sadly some of them are very pricey. Anyway, my favourite that I own from them is, oh, it was difficult. We'll call it my favourite today, is Lipstick Rose, which is a little like French Kiss, it's the same DNA, the same idea, but different direction. This is again the kind of pinky, pale purple, makeup-y lipstick scent, if you like. It's powdery, it's very musky. The violet is probably what creates most of that, not the rose. Midges. And shit, I'll probably get eaten. More midges. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. And there's a grapefruit in it. Now the grapefruit sometimes is a struggle. I always say this whenever I talk about this. The grapefruit, sometimes it just adds a bit of nice freshness through it. Sometimes it adds a bit of bitterness through it. That's not to say I don't enjoy it, but it makes it interesting. That's what sets it aside from all the others, kind of, you know, on that similar pattern. And it's very nice. I mean, what more is to say? We all know these. Once, oh dear, I couldn't decide between the moon and the night. Yeah, I know, I wish I need to do over about 4 banks to afford them. Now the moon it's raspberry leather, kind of oudiness. I'm not sure if there is oud in that one. Perhaps a bit of rose in there, like a darker, not very sweet rose, but it's dark and it's kind of full. It's the raspberry that I think is kind of the main attraction for me with this one. Now it's a dark, juicy, not playful raspberry. It's like a mysterious raspberry who's been on a journey through the Middle East, and they've come back with loads of stories and loads of interesting spices and scents, and that mixes with them kind of, whether there's oud or not in it, I can't remember, but the kind of leatheriness, so there may be saffron and what have you in there, that kind of make up the base, this warm, rich base. and it's smooth and it's seamless and it's very cocooning and it's very big, and it's just like, hey baby, I'm a big warm raspberry. I've got, you know, experience and interest and culture. I've been everywhere. Come and snuggle me up kind of fragrance. Fantastic. And then the night, yeah, I'm never gonna buy it. I mean, I don't even think they do the damn travel sizes of it, which is ridiculous, isn't it? And even the travel size would be like 200 quid or something. But the night is magnificent. It opens up a little bit tricky. Not that much. And then all it is just woods, oud, a very sophisticated, elegant oud again. It's not like silver oud, but it's the same, that nod to where it's really from, what oud really smells like. It's just magnificent with a rose, but it's not oud and rose, it's oud rose, if you like. They're blended together magnificently. It's not the two separate notes dancing. They've joined together and made a baby or whatever. And it is dark nights walking through a Middle Eastern palace with flowers all around, scents, sultans wearing very expensive perfumes and gold and diamonds. But you're not like that. You're wearing this one. You've got a quiet kind of elegance and confidence about you, and you smell utterly magnificent. So that's really what the night is. So yeah, favourite today from Frédéric Malle is Lipstick Rose, and my wants are the moon and the night. Next is Kilian, which we know is great. Was a great French house. Very interesting, beautifully blended, fantastic niche fragrances. Some were very kind of easy to love, some were a bit more artistic and pretty, and then they got taken over, and the rest is history. I'm not going to go on about that, but yeah, my favourite, come on, I couldn't not have this as my favourite I own. Rolling in Love. Love in a bottle, isn't it? It's tender, soft, musky kisses, musky skin together after, you know, a bit of canoodling, some caressing, some gentle tender love making, the kind of the kiss of perfume from another person's skin, the sweet taste of the kind of slightly salty, sweaty skin, but clean and pure. And it's got a mix of, is it freesia and tuberose in there? You don't really, it's not about the notes, it's about the musk and the feeling and where it takes you. It's just a very kind of tender fragrance that if you sniff it's going to give you them kind of, them, you know, them shivers you get from something really beautiful and magnificent. Oh, the wind. So yeah, that's my favourite, that's Rolling in Love. Now my wants from Kilian is a Pearl Oud. Now this is an exclusive to Dakar, I think it is. And this one is when Kilian used to do the oud fragrances. They were unique, they were different, they were authentic and special. You know, no costs cut, no over sweetness, no going over the top. No, you know, and this one, it opens up with a kind of very kind of dirty oud, if you like, which obviously simmers out into something quite gentle and elegant and magnificent. And it's what it is. And it's got little hints of saffron, it's got bits of rose in it and such like. And it's just, I'm not going to waffle on and on and on about it, but it does actually take you to Dakar, if you like, if it even is Dakar. that the place I'm thinking of. And it's just got a certain class and elegance. It's more what, instead of a prince wearing it, you'd imagine some normal person who works there, you know, like a middle-class civil servant, someone who's been at work in the office, or even a, you know, a classy shop person. It's got this magnificent, just effortless elegance. And the oud, even though it does sometimes trickle through as being a bit tricky, I think there might be some castoreum as well, giving it that kind of animalic warmth in there. It's fantastic. Is it Kilian's best oud? I think so. Obviously musk oud, rose oud, got a little bit more sweetness about them, haven't they? This one doesn't have that. It's a drier, more oud centric fragrance. Like I say, it might have a bit of the old rose and florals going through it, but they're not the star. So yeah, that's pearl oud. So my favourite is Rolling in Love, and my want is pearl oud. Next is well, you know, another indie house in here, and that's One Way Bridge. I think we all know my favourite is, of course, Date with a Dame. A masterpiece again. It's basically a very musky fragrance. That again is the main kind of theme, but it's got is it soft tuberose, a kind of cherryness about it, and I think that comes from the type of tuberose and stuff. There's also New Zealand notes that, you know, I'm not going to be one of them influencers who says, I smell the snozzleberry. The snozzleberry is really prominent. I've never smelled a snozzleberry. I don't know what one is. It could be made up, but I smell it. I'm not going to be one of them influencers. I don't know what they are. You kind of can guess maybe where some of it comes from and that, but I'm not familiar enough with them yet. And it's got all that kind of cheeky, sweet cherry thing. Obviously tuberose is a very sensual flower. There's other stuff, like I say, but the musks, I think there's more than one sort of musk. Could there be ambrette in it? Possibly. And it all gives you that kind of come hitherness about it. And it also has a bit of, again, maybe the flowers or the other notes, a little bit of a kind of smooth leatheriness. So it's got the come hither kind of slightly carnal musk. It's got a kind of tender little musk, you know, that kisses down the spine kind of musk, and it all goes together. It's just this really appealing, classy, addictive fragrance, and it's just magnificent. Now my want, which I will get, because you know what I'm like, is Pitching Woo. This is a complete mystery of a scent, because I don't think the notes will ever be released, and I like that. But to me, it's like it starts off with a humbug sweet, you know, the stripy black and white or brown and white, depending which humbug it is, but like a toffee mint, smooth vanillic, very lovely, not over the top, not too minty, not too gourmandy toffiness. And then as it kind of gets creamier and creamier as it develops, and then it's almost like you don't really get the same ice cream as us abroad, but here you have this yellow Devonshire ice cream, which is it's exceptionally creamy and vanilla-y, but it's not too strong. It's not bland, but it's not, you know, some expensive authentic vanilla tasting thing. It's just this very smooth, easy to love ice cream, and that's what you kind of get in it. And then it sometimes reminds me of like a float where you'd put ice cream in pop. I can't top of my head remember what I said. Not Coke necessarily this time, like something different. And it kind of floats. I presume there's cardamom in it as well, giving it a sparkle and a freshness. And sometimes, now this is probably because other people have mentioned it, I wouldn't say I immediately picked it out. There's an apricotiness there. And that apricotiness comes and goes, but adds again another kind of more appealing thing to it. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I've never smelt anything like it, and I don't own anything like it. So that's my want, Pitching Woo. My favourite is Date with a Dame. And finally is Tom Ford's Noir de Noir. Sorry, well that's my favourite, spoiler. Of course it is. I mean, could anyone else have thought I'd have picked any other different fragrance from good old Mr. Ford? I'm not going to waffle on about this one. Spoke about it so much. It's dark patchouli, a kind of truffly mushroominess, the blood dark red, almost black rose, a kind of winey touch to it. It's musky actually. It's dark, it's sweet, it's appealing, it draws you in. Yes, it is that kind of Dracula type fragrance. It is absolutely fantastic. So that's Noir de Noir from Tom Ford. And because it's too hot and I need to sit down, the last one we can have here by this heavily polluted river. It's a nice little picturesque bit, isn't it? The final one is my wants from Tom Ford, and again that's not the easiest because there's quite a few I like. Again, pre certain company taking over, the ones tend to be the best, and I've gone for Bitter Peach. Bitter Peach reminds me of a few other things, but it's you know, it's Tom Ford. It's like it's a bit, obviously it's a lot of peach, there's musks, it's kind of a little bit of a naughty musk in there as well. I suspect there's Divana because it has that kind of almost booziness about it. It's sharp, it's rich, it's sweet, it's just really kind of enjoyable, and I don't think, if you like peachy, apricotty, Divana-y kind of fragrances, this is one for you. It's magnificent. So that's Tom Ford's Bitter Peach. So yeah, Noir de Noir is my favourite, and Bitter Peach is my want from the brand. And we may as well just do my conclusion here. So yeah, it's quite an interesting tag to do this actually, because we all know our favourites and that. And I think we've sort of warmed to certain houses. We enjoy the DNA, we know what to expect. I mean, more modern times, since they're all getting taken over by these super companies, they kind of kill what we loved about them. That's why, like, with most of them, they weren't brand new scents, they were older ones. I mean, Frédéric Malle may take a bow soon, but the old ones are great. And yeah, so we're going to have favourites, we're going to have many, and we're definitely going to want some from them again. The newer ones we do still get excited about, but again, since takeovers and that, you're a little bit, that bubble bursts, like with Kilian. I used to be excited for the new releases, and then they're not very inspired, you know. They're just made to sell loads. There's no let's make something interesting that might sell loads, or something that, you know, will push things in a direction. It's just, let's just release whatever's popular. There. Sad but true. So yeah, do you have any houses that you have a few from, that you have, what do you most want from them houses? Do you have a fantasy fragrance that you want them to create? I mean, I could have done that as well as part of this thing, but what would you like your favourite house to create? What direction do you want them to go in? Do you, like me, have found that these houses that we used to love and still hold dear to our hearts have kind of changed beyond all recognition over the last few years, because again of the cash grab takeovers and the reformulating and the making them cheaper and easier, I suppose, and what have you? Or is it just me on my random moanings? Alright folks, thanks, bye.